Now, for Etude number 1 by Belke, page 7 in the Voxman book, in E-flat major, the style for this piece involves a lot of kind of light-hearted, playful sounding melodies and lines, and so you want to approach it in that manner. Occasionally there's some weight of seriousness in there, but all of these 16th note passages, particularly in the second half of the piece, should be pretty nimble, should be pretty lively, and you want to bring out the accented notes in the first half with a heavier articulation and a little bit more weight in the airstream. Again, the accents are of a different nature in the second half. They should just have some added brilliance, I think, and sparkle to them. Now, in preparing this piece, as I think with all of the etudes, it's extremely important to number the measures and write in rehearsal letters at the beginning of each section of the piece. So for me, I have measure 9 as letter A, measure 25 as letter B, and that helps me communicate with my students and sort of understand and then work on one section at a time and divide it into manageable pieces, manageable chunks, that is. Also, I think it's really important to write in every alternate position and breath mark. Again, this is going to go for all of the etudes. And what this does is it helps to eliminate moments of doubt in the performance. So while you're playing through the piece and there's a D natural coming up above the staff, you won't start to think, am I supposed to play that in flat fourth or regular or sharp first position, or what it is, or maybe a C in the trigger versus sixth position, or am I supposed to breathe here, or is that what's going on? I'm running out of air. You know, you get to mitigate that by just writing those things in your music and practicing them as part of the piece. So that's going to be really important in all of these etudes. Now, something specific to this etude, I think, relates to how to prepare. I like to prepare in 4 to 8 measure chunks. Like so, the first 4 bars, I would play that over and over until I get the sound that I want. I would work on the first measure individually with a lot of buzzing, maybe a lot of no tongue playing, even if it doesn't sound quite good right away. And then when you go to the horn, you can play it without the tongue. It's going to be, you know, a little slurpy. And then you add a little legato tongue if you think that'll be helpful. And that should make it a little bit easier to go through that process. Buzz, no tongue, add legato tongue. Okay, now there's some sections here, starting at measure 9, where you have these 4-bar sequences with an octave, with a scale, and an arpeggio, and you need to approach them very deliberately. I think each 4-measure section needs to be rehearsed over and over again, kind of in this way. So we'll do the first one as the example. First, I like to take the quarter notes plus the next note. So you have the accented, all the 3 accented notes, and play them kind of in a one long, continuous feeling airstream. And again, until that sounds the way you want it to sound, with an accent, with length, a little bit of separation that comes from articulating correctly. Then you play the scale, pretty kind of nimbly, but with direction. Right, and work on that. Certainly work on it slowly. And then the arpeggio, which is sort of a light and bouncy, kind of laughing off, you know, in another direction. And for this one, I like to use 6th position for C to get ready for the next passage, which has F, the both quarter note Fs in 6th position, in my opinion. So you work on each of those elements. First, you do the octave and the downbeat, then you do the scale, and then you do the arpeggio, and then you put them together. And this should start at a very slow tempo, so you get comfortable with it. Do the next section the same way. Do letter B, for me, the same way. It's measure 25. And then the next 4 after that as well, especially with the low range stuff. So we have to play a lot of these notes with the bottom note option, including playing in the valve. Now there's a couple things you can do to practice playing in the valve. I like to start on trigger 1 F. And just smear out to E natural and flat second, and then re-articulate it. And then I'll keep doing that from first to the further note. that's going to help kind of get the embouchure warmed up to play those notes in context, even though it's still tough. So you still have to do a little bit of a shift. Right? I drop the jaw a little bit to come out. And that helps. And I would practice octaves, starting on F. All the way down the slide till you're playing C, and you do that every day. Part of your warm-up is to do the smears into the valve and do the octaves into the valve. All right, now to talk about the rest of the piece with the 16th notes, I think all of these technical passages must be done very slowly at first, and I like the idea of occasionally adapting the slide technique to work on precision by playing a very rigid and sort of abrupt slide technique. This isn't the goal, this is just a tool to get to the goal of a relaxed, smooth slide technique. So, for example, if I'm going to start at measure 41, yes, this is not a very musical way to play, but it does help me to learn where to put the slide in each of the positions and kind of trains my body and my mind to feel out where that is, so that when I go back to playing it in time, my right arm knows where to go for each pitch. And I can still play musically by being more relaxed, but I'm more precise as a result. This will help a lot on this piece and in the third etude. Lastly, when it comes to coming from the high notes and coming down, this is where it's really easy to get a little bit messed up and find yourself on the wrong partial. Your corners have to stay set. I think they have to stay set all the time. The airstream has to be supported all the time. Usually, a lot of the time what happens, we get to the top note and we kind of rest. We get complacent. Oh, I made it. The high note's over. And then we have to come down. And the notes coming down can be very tricky unless this is set and this is constant. If the airstream is constant and the corners are set, coming off of the high G's, for example, near the end of the piece, or measure 51, I think it happens in 46 as well, 47, excuse me. If you come off those high G's and keep the air supported and the corners supported, firm that is, then I think those notes are going to speak much more clearly. You have to have them in your ear very clearly as well. So buzzing them will help. Then when you play it, this stays firm, this stays constant. And you just want to practice that again over and over until it sounds and feels the way that you want it. It's a tricky spot, but if you do the work, this etude can be very rewarding. It's a lot of fun to play. There's a lot of character to it. It can be even rather expressive amidst all of the interesting sort of technical passages that take place. So enjoy the work, enjoy slow improvement, enjoy gradual tempo gain, and I think you'll find this one to be very rewarding.